The Chantrey is an old English fly. I am tying it after the illustration in Mary Orvis Marbury's book, Favorite Flies and Their Histories. I'm tying it on a number 12 hook using claret thread because the head on the fly is claret. The fly is named after Sir Francis Chantrey, a British sculptor who was born in 1781 and died in 1841. He used this fly, so it's quite a bit older than Mary's book, which was published in 1892. I am putting a gold tag on the fly. I'm using a bicolor tinsel, so I'm tying it in with the gold side towards the hook, and that way when I wrap it, it flips and the gold shows. This is a extra small tinsel, so I do need to put quite a few wraps on to get a gold tag. I take my thread up to the front of the hook just to get it out of the way, and then I bring it back in order to tie that tinsel in. Wrap over it a few times. And I'll clip off that tinsel. I clipped it off kind of long, so I'm going to go back and clip it off a little bit shorter, and then wrap up over the tinsel, bringing my thread out to the front of the hook where I tied in. I need to make sure I leave room for the hackle. I'm using 3 strands of peacock herl for the body. I clipped off the butt ends and wrapped in all 3 together over the entire shank. Now I create a dubbing loop that I'm going to use for a herl rope. So taking that loop and bringing my herl up into the loop, and I find that taking it on top of the fly makes it easier as I wrap down with it. So then I just attach my hackle pliers to that strand of herl and thread and then twist it together. That creates the rope. It makes the herl much stronger, much less susceptible to breaking, and then wrap it around the shank in touching wraps. I leave my thread about halfway, and that also helps to keep the herl together as I wrap forward. I did attach my pliers a little bit close to the hook shank, and so I have to remove the pliers and finish wrapping. Just another wrap after I take the pliers off, then take my thread and wrap up over the top of the herl to catch it in. Normally I do 3, looks 4 this time, but 3-4 wraps, and then some underneath to secure it. Either break off the herl, but here with the thread in it, it's hard to break off, so just cut it out. For the front hackle, I'm using this brown hen feather, and I grab the tip of the feather with my hackle plier, and then I can pull back on all the fibers that will become the hackle. That leaves that large tip triangle, and I clip that off. All I want is a little tiny triangle that I can use to tie that hackle feather in. Lay it against my hook shank, wrap around it. I'm pulled back on the feather a little bit so that I clean up around the eye of the hook. Wrap it in, make sure it's secure, and then grab that hackle feather with my hackle plier. I'm pulling back on the fibers as I wrap them so they lay back towards the bend of the hook, and I'll just wrap until I feel I've got enough hackle on, or I run out of hackle feather. Here I have more feather than I need, so when I get to that spot in the feather where I've stripped off the one side, I will just tie that in. few wraps to tie in that butt end, and then let go of the pliers, and then I wet my fingers and pull back on all those fibers, and then it makes it easier to wrap up across that butt end. And then I need to fish that butt end out of there, try to find it, and this is a pretty narrow, fine stem on this feather, so I can just snap it out. And then I'm trying to find the middle and separate those fibers on top of the fly where I'm going to tie in the wing. For the wing I am using wild turkey, which Mary suggests. I don't often use, or there are no recipes in Mary's book, and so I kind of have to guess at what to use for the ingredients. Here she does say to use a wild turkey feather. This fly is also called the brown hen, in which case both the hackle and the wing might be made from brown hen feathers. And then just wrap up the butt ends after I cut them out for the head. Mary did tie in some gut material here because her hooks did not have eyes on them, in order to attach it to the fly line. Put a whip finish on it. I try not to cut the thread when I take it out, just push my scissors against it. Kind of pull up on those hackle fibers, kind of get them around the wing. And then a drop of head cement. I use a diluted goop. And pass a hackle feather through the eye of the hook to make sure that it's clean.